Chosen one. Why can't you get out of bed when your spirit is screaming to move? Why does your body feel like it's wrapped in chains when your mind is racing with everything you need to do? Why are you paralyzed right now when breakthrough should be happening? Listen to me, chosen one. What's happening to you isn't failure, it's extraction. Stop everything. Heaven just issued a code red over your life. Right now, in this very moment you're watching this, hell has launched something so lethal toward your destiny that God had to shut your entire system down to intercept it. You didn't fall asleep, you were evacuated. Emergency pulled from the battlefield because something demonic was headed straight for your soul. And angels got there first. That exhaustion you feel, that's not weakness, that's divine anesthesia. God knocked you unconscious so you wouldn't feel the spiritual surgery happening around you. Your phone went silent, your plans crumbled, your energy collapsed into nothing, and you thought you were slipping. But in truth, you were being locked in heaven's bunker. This isn't fatigue, chosen one. This is spiritual interception, the kind of shutdown that only happens when hell fires a missile with your name on it. And the host of heaven moves faster than the speed of darkness to stop it. You're not lazy. You've been quarantined from the war zone. This is heaven's way of saying you're too valuable to lose right now. Right now, while you're watching this, there's a battle raging in dimensions you can't see. Demons are circling the place where you were supposed to be today, but you're not there. You're here, protected, hidden, sealed. God saw what was coming toward you that you didn't even know was launched, and He pulled you into divine isolation before it could reach your spirit. This shutdown isn't punishment, it's protection. You're not behind schedule, you're ahead of disaster. The moment you started feeling this heaviness, this pull toward stillness, this supernatural urge to disconnect, that was heaven's emergency broadcast system activating over your life. You didn't choose this rest. This rest chose you. And it chose you because something beautiful is about to be born from this sacred pause. Something so powerful that hell had to try to stop it before it could manifest. But they're too late. The shutdown has already begun. God is about to do in your silence what would have taken you years to accomplish in your noise. If you're truly chosen, you'll feel this message in your bones. Comment now, God, if you shut me down to save me, I surrender. The divine shutdown begins now. Don't fight it, fall into it. Your extraction was not an accident, it was an appointment. Why does your body feel like it's moving through molasses when your mind is crystal clear? Why are you sleeping 12 hours and waking up more exhausted than when you went to bed? Why does every simple task feel like you're carrying invisible boulders on your shoulders? Listen closely, chosen one. What you're experiencing isn't depression, it isn't burnout, it's divine sedation. You think you're falling apart, but heaven is putting you under. Your eyelids aren't heavy because you're tired. They're heavy because God is administering spiritual anesthesia. Your nervous system isn't failing you, it's following orders from the Most High. You are not collapsing. You are being wheeled into heaven's operating room. Every alarm you've slept through, every appointment you've missed, every moment your brain just shut off. That wasn't weakness. That was the great physician preparing you for soul surgery. You know that feeling when you try to wake up, but your body refuses. When you fight to open your eyes, but they seal shut like they're weighted with lead. That's not your flesh betraying you. That's your spirit submitting to the surgeon's hand. In Matthew 26:39, Jesus prayed, "My Father, if it is possible, may this cup be taken from me, yet not as I will, but as you will." Even Christ had to surrender to divine timing. Even the Son of God had to trust the process when his body wanted to resist what his spirit knew was necessary. You're not lazy. You're under divine orders to be still. Your mind keeps racing, making lists, planning your next move. But your body knows something your thoughts haven't caught up to yet. Your flesh is wiser than your fears right now. God has injected your soul with sacred stillness, because what He's about to repair in you can't be fixed while you're conscious. Some spiritual surgeries require you to be completely unconscious to the world's demands. Think about it. When surgeons operate on a patient's heart, do they keep them awake? When they need to reset a broken bone, do they ask the patient to help? No. They put them under, because healing this deep requires complete surrender of control. Right now, as I'm speaking to you, you can feel it, can't you? That pull, that gravitational force dragging your consciousness downward, your eyelids getting heavier, your thoughts getting slower. That's not you failing, that's heaven calling. You've been fighting this strange sleep for days, maybe weeks, drinking coffee that doesn't work, setting alarms that can't wake you, forcing yourself to move when every cell in your body is screaming rest. But what if I told you that every time you surrendered to that sleep, you weren't losing time, you were gaining eternity? In Genesis 2:21, the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam. Not a nap, not rest, deep sleep, the kind that comes from divine intervention. And what happened during that supernatural unconsciousness? God performed His greatest creative work. He built Eve from Adam's rib while Adam was completely unaware. God's most powerful creations happen while His chosen are asleep. While you've been unconscious to this world, God has been conscious of your future. While your body has been still, heaven has been in motion. Every hour you thought you were wasting in that strange, unexplainable sleep, God was building your breakthrough from the inside out. You're not missing your life. You're being prepared for it. That fog in your brain, that's not confusion. That's God clouding your natural understanding so He can download supernatural wisdom directly into your spirit. You can't think your way into what He's about to give you. You can only receive it. You were not created to understand this season. You were created to survive it. And survival right now looks like surrender. It looks like letting your body do what it's been trying to do for weeks. It looks like trusting that the God who never sleeps knows exactly why He's putting you under. If this exhaustion feels divine, if this sleep feels sacred, type, Lord, do surgery. Because what's happening to you isn't random, it's surgical. And when you finally wake up from this holy hibernation, you won't just be rested, you'll be resurrected. But first, you have to stop fighting the anesthesia and let the great physician do what only He can do in the depths of your divine unconsciousness. The anesthesia is working now. Your spirit is under. But there's something else happening that you haven't noticed yet. God didn't just put you to sleep. He blindfolded you. And I don't mean that metaphorically. I mean literally, spiritually, supernaturally. Your spiritual eyes have been covered with sacred gauze. You've been wondering why everything looks blurry lately, why you can't see your next step clearly, why every door you try to open feels sealed shut, why every conversation you try to have falls flat, why every opportunity you chase seems to dissolve the moment you reach for it. You thought you were losing your vision, but God was protecting it. Listen to me carefully, chosen one. You weren't ghosted by people. You were ghosted by heaven, because if one more conversation had happened, you would have been infected. If one more invitation was accepted, you would have walked straight into a trap. So God blurred your focus to save your destiny. You know that feeling when you're trying to read something, but the words keep moving. When you're trying to make decisions, but your mind goes completely blank. When you're trying to connect with people, but it's like there's invisible glass between you and everyone else. That's not confusion. That's divine protection. In 2 Kings 6:17, Elisha prayed, "Open his eyes, Lord, so that he may see." And suddenly his servant could see the hills full of horses and chariots of fire. But here's what most people miss. Sometimes God closes our eyes so we can't see the hills full of demons. Sometimes spiritual blindness is spiritual safety. Right now, there are conversations happening about you that would devastate you if you could hear them. There are schemes being plotted against your future that would paralyze you with fear if you could see them. There are doors opening to destruction that would look like opportunity if you weren't spiritually blindfolded. God didn't take away your sight. He took away your ability to see the wrong things. You've been crying because friends stopped calling. But what if those friends were about to introduce you to people who would poison your purpose? You've been frustrated because opportunities dried up. But what if those opportunities were about to lead you 1,000 miles away from where God needs you to be? Every door that slammed shut was a door to disaster. Every conversation that died mid-sentence was a conversation that would have killed your calling. Every plan that fell apart was a plan that would have fallen on top of you. You thought you were being rejected, but you were being redirected. God put spiritual blinders on you the same way a doctor puts a patient in a medically induced coma, not to harm them, but to heal them, not to punish them, but to protect them from thrashing around and making their injuries worse. Your isolation wasn't abandonment, it was insulation. Think about this. When there's a gas leak, what do firefighters do? They evacuate everyone within a 3-mile radius. They don't explain to each person why they can't go back into their house. They don't give detailed reports about the danger levels. They just move people to safety and deal with the explosion later. That's what God did with your life. He evacuated you from a spiritual gas leak you couldn't even smell, and you've been standing outside watching from a distance, wondering why you can't go back to your normal routine, why you can't reconnect with your old patterns, why everything that used to feel familiar now feels forbidden. Because there's still gas in the air, chosen one. The danger hasn't passed yet. The explosion hasn't happened yet, but it's coming, and when it does, you'll be watching from the safety of God's isolation instead of being buried under the rubble of what you thought was your real life. In Psalm 91:4 it says, "He will cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you will find refuge." But notice, when a mother bird covers her babies with her wings, the babies can't see anything. They're completely surrounded by feathers. Their world goes dark, but that darkness is their protection. The babies don't understand why Mama Bird is pressing them down. They don't know there's a hawk circling overhead. They don't realize that their visibility has been traded for their safety. They just know they can't see, they can't move, and they can't breathe normally. Sound familiar? You're not in a depression, chosen one. You're under his wings. You're not losing your mind. You're being covered by his feathers. You can't see because God doesn't want you to see what's hunting you. Every phone call that didn't come through was a call that would have lured you out from under his protection. Every invitation you didn't receive was an invitation to step into the hawk's territory. Every opportunity that passed you by was an opportunity to be picked off by predators. God blinded you to save you, and I know it's frustrating. I know you want to see the whole picture. I know you want to understand what's happening. But some things are too dangerous for your natural eyes to process. Some battles are too intense for your human heart to witness. If you could see what was trying to reach you this week, you'd thank God for every door he slammed shut. If you could hear the conversations hell was trying to start, through people you trust, you'd fall on your knees and praise him for the silence. If you could see the spiritual coordinates of where your old plans were leading, you'd worship him for the confusion. God didn't take away your sight to punish you. He covered your eyes to preserve you. And here's the most beautiful part. The blindfold is temporary. When the danger passes, when the gas clears, when the hawk flies away, God will remove the gauze from your spiritual eyes. And when he does, you won't just see clearly again. You'll see farther than you ever have before, because eyes that have been protected in darkness see better in the light. Say, God, if you covered my eyes, I trust you knew why. Because the God who created sight knows exactly when to take it away to save your life. But now I need to tell you something that's going to shake you to your core. This blindfolding, this isolation, this divine hiding, it's about to end. The blindfold is about to be lifted. But before God reveals what He was protecting you from, you need to understand something classified. Something that happens in the spiritual realm that most people never get clearance to know. What happened to you wasn't random, it was protocol. Heaven operates on emergency systems that would make the Pentagon jealous. Divine protocols that activate the moment certain threat levels are detected over a chosen vessel. And Chosen One, your spiritual sensors, just triggered a code black evacuation. You've been asking, why was I held back? Why couldn't I move forward? Why did everything I touched turn to sand? But what if those weren't delays? What if those were extractions? What if the reason you couldn't move forward was because you weren't supposed to survive that hour? Let me declassify something for you. In Revelation 12:5, it says, "The woman gave birth to a son, a male child, who will rule all the nations. And her child was snatched up to God and to His throne." Notice that word snatched. Not gently lifted, not gradually moved. Snatched. Emergency extraction, divine kidnapping, heaven's emergency response system in action. You didn't stop, you were extracted, like a soldier in battle too valuable to lose. Right now, as I'm speaking to you, there are threat assessment protocols running in the heavenly realm with your name on them, divine algorithms calculating danger probabilities, angelic intelligence units monitoring spiritual coordinates around your destiny. And this week, the system detected a threat level that required immediate evacuation. You thought you were procrastinating, but heaven saw premature exposure coming. You thought you were failing, but God saw you about to walk into friendly fire. You thought you were being punished, but you were being preserved. The shutdown wasn't discipline, it was defense. Think about this. When the Secret Service detects a credible threat against the president, what do? Do they ask his permission? Do they explain the details? Do they give him a choice? No, they grab him, they move him, and they explain later, because some situations require action faster than explanation. That's what happened to your life this week. Heaven's Secret Service detected a credible threat against your destiny, and instead of briefing you on the details, they just moved you fast, without your permission, without your understanding, because explanation takes time, and time was something you didn't have. You've been frustrated because people stopped responding to your texts. But what if those people were about to deliver messages that would have redirected you into an ambush? You've been angry because opportunities dried up. But what if those opportunities were baited traps designed to lure you away from divine protection? Every door that wouldn't open was a door to disaster. In Daniel 6:22, Daniel said, "My God sent His angel and shut the mouths of the lions." But think about what that means. God didn't kill the lions. He didn't remove Daniel from the den. He just shut their mouths. The danger was still there, the threat was still real, but the power to harm was supernaturally disabled. That's what happened to your life. God didn't remove all the people who could hurt you. He didn't eliminate every dangerous situation. He just shut their mouths. He disabled their power to reach you. Every conversation that died mid-sentence, mouths shut. Every plan that fell apart at the last minute, teeth pulled. Every opportunity that disappeared right before you could grab it, claws clipped. You weren't missing out. You were being protected from being devoured. But here's where this gets classified, Chosen One. The emergency protocol that activated over your life isn't just about protecting you from external threats. It's about protecting you from yourself. Heaven detected that you were about to make decisions based on human logic that would have violated spiritual law. You were about to say yes to things that felt right, but were spiritually lethal. You were about to commit to paths that looked like progress, but led to spiritual suicide. So God temporarily disabled your decision-making ability. That's why you couldn't think clearly this week. That's why every choice felt impossible. That's why your usually sharp mind went completely blank every time you tried to plan your next move. It wasn't brain fog, it was divine override. God literally hijacked your cognitive functions to prevent you from making choices that would have taken you outside of His will. He didn't trust your natural wisdom right now because your natural wisdom couldn't see the spiritual minefield you were about to walk into. Sometimes God has to save us from our own good ideas. In Proverbs 3:5-6, it says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding." But that's not just advice, that's protocol. When heaven detects that your understanding is about to lead you into enemy territory, the emergency system activates and temporarily shuts down your ability to lean on it. You didn't lose your mind. God borrowed it. And He borrowed it because the decisions you were about to make weren't just wrong for this season, they were catastrophic for your calling. The relationships you were about to pursue weren't just unhealthy, they were spiritually toxic. The opportunities you were chasing weren't just distractions, they were designed to derail your destiny permanently. So heaven pressed the emergency stop button on your entire decision-making process. You've been wondering why you can't get clarity on anything, why every option feels foggy, why you can't get peace about moving in any direction. That's not confusion, that's quarantine. God has you in spiritual isolation until the threat level drops to safe, until the enemy operatives in your vicinity are neutralized, until the spiritual atmosphere around your calling is cleared of toxins. You're not stuck, you're in protective custody. And here's the part that's going to blow your mind. The emergency protocol that activated over your life this week, it's been building for months. Heaven has been tracking patterns, monitoring spiritual intelligence, calculating probabilities. The exhaustion you've been feeling wasn't sudden, it was systematic. God has been gradually slowing you down, gradually reducing your exposure, gradually pulling you away from danger zones, preparing for this moment when He would need to shut you down completely. This wasn't a random shutdown, this was a scheduled extraction. Every time you felt that strange pull to cancel plans, that was phase 1. Every time you lost interest in conversations, that was phase 2. Every time you felt like staying home instead of going out, that was phase 3. And this complete shutdown, this is phase 4, the final phase before the all-clear signal, the deepest level of protection before heaven gives you the green light to emerge. The last layer of insulation before they hand you back your cleared for takeoff papers. Type, "I didn't miss my moment. Heaven paused time for me." Because what's about to happen next is going to require every ounce of strength you've been conserving during this supernatural shutdown. God didn't delay you, He extracted you. And now the extraction is almost complete. The emergency protocol has served its purpose. But now, chosen one, I need to show you where you've been taken. Follow me. Walk quietly. We're about to enter sacred territory. You thought you were sitting in your living room, your bedroom, your kitchen table. But you're not. You're sitting in heaven's most exclusive recording studio, the soundproof booth where prophets are built, where voices that will shake nations are first whispered into existence. Look around. Feel the walls. This isn't isolation. This is insulation. Every great voice in history was first recorded in silence. Every prophet who would eventually speak to millions was first locked away with God alone. Moses spent 40 years in the wilderness before he opened his mouth at Pharaoh's palace. David wrote psalms in caves before he ruled kingdoms. Jesus spent 40 days fasting in the desert before he began his ministry. The silence wasn't their punishment. It was their preparation. You think you're unheard, but God is using this silence to lay down the tracks. The future generations will dance to what you're enduring right now. Prophets aren't made on stages, chosen one. They're recorded in solitude. Right now, in this moment, God has you locked in a spiritual recording booth, so advanced that no earthly sound can penetrate it. Your phone isn't ringing, not because people don't care. It's because heaven needs absolute quiet for what's being recorded in your spirit. What if silence is not absence, but saturation? What if this quietness isn't God ignoring you, but God downloading something into you that requires zero interference? What if the emptiness you feel isn't abandonment, but divine acoustics, the perfect spiritual environment for heaven's voice to be recorded directly onto your soul? Listen, in 1 Kings 19:12, Elijah heard God not in the earthquake, not in the fire, not in the mighty wind, but in a gentle whisper. But here's what most people miss. Before Elijah could hear that whisper, everything else had to be silent. The earthquake had to pass. The fire had to die out. The wind had to stop blowing. Only in complete silence could Elijah hear the voice that would change his life forever. That's where you are right now, in the silence after the storm. God has cleared the spiritual atmosphere around you of every distraction, every voice, every opinion, every noise that would interfere with what He's about to record in your spirit. This isn't loneliness, this is sacred acoustics. You've been complaining about the quiet, but professional recording artists know something. You're just learning the more expensive the studio, the more soundproof the walls. The more valuable the recording, the more isolation is required. And what God is recording in you right now, priceless. He's laying down tracks of wisdom that will outlive your lifetime. He's recording melodies of mercy that will play in the hearts of people you'll never meet. He's capturing frequencies of faith that will resonate through generations you'll never see. But this kind of recording can only happen in perfect silence. Every time you felt forgotten this week, God was adjusting the levels. Every time you felt invisible, heaven was checking the sound quality. Every time you wondered if anyone cared, the recording angels were making sure the acoustics were pristine for what was about to be captured. You know that feeling when you're completely alone, but you sense someone watching you. When you're in total silence, but you feel like something significant is happening. That's not paranoia, that's production. Heaven's recording equipment is rolling right now, and what's being captured isn't just for you. It's for the prophet you're becoming. It's for the voice you're going to carry. It's for the sound that's going to come out of your mouth that will break chains, heal hearts, and awaken souls. He's recording a sound in you that only suffering can produce. You can't manufacture the tone that comes from walking through dark valleys. You can't synthesize the frequency that emerges from wrestling with God alone. You can't auto-tune the authenticity that only comes from crying real tears in real silence with the real God. That's why He needed you alone. That's why He cleared the room. Because the sound He's recording in your spirit right now, the depth, the pain, the faith, the surrender, that sound is going to be the foundation track for everything you speak for the rest of your life. When you stand before crowds, they won't just hear your words. They'll hear the echo of this silence. When you pray for others, they won't just feel your faith. They'll feel the weight of these lonely nights. When you speak life into dead situations, your voice will carry the resonance of resurrection because it was first recorded in the tomb of your isolation. This soundproof room you're in, it's not a prison, it's a studio, and God is the producer, the engineer, and the one financing the whole project. He's investing in a sound that will outlast your body, outlive your circumstances, and out-impact anything you could have created in the noise of your old life. In Jeremiah 1:9, God said, "I have put my words in your mouth." But notice, before God puts words in your mouth, He has to create silence around your ears, because you can't receive His voice clearly while you're still listening to everyone else's. That's what this season has been. Divine ear training. God has been teaching your spirit to recognize His frequency, his tone, his rhythm. He's been clearing your spiritual airways so that when he speaks, you won't confuse his voice with the noise of the world. And now the recording is almost finished. The tracks are laid. The levels are set. The mixing is nearly complete. Soon, very soon, God is going to hand you back the microphone. But when he does, what comes out won't be the same voice you had before. It'll be the voice of someone who's been alone with God in the soundproof room where prophets are built. It'll carry the frequency of heaven. It'll resonate with the power of silence overcome. It'll vibrate with the authority of someone who learned to hear God when every other voice went quiet. Say it, God records something eternal in me while no one is watching, because what he's recording right now in the silence of your solitude is about to be played back through the speakers of your restored life. And when it is, the whole world is going to hear the sound of heaven. But first, he has to finish the recording, and the final track is about to begin, the rewiring track. This final track isn't just audio, it's neural reconstruction, and I need you to understand something that's going to shock you to your core. The person you were 6 months ago, that person is being systematically deleted. Why can't you remember who you were 6 months ago? Why does your old personality feel like it belongs to someone else? Why do your old desires feel foreign? Why do conversations you used to enjoy now feel like static because God is reprogramming your inner hard drive? Your inner compass had been hijacked. Chosen one. Too many updates from the wrong systems. Too many viruses downloaded from toxic relationships. Too many corrupted files from trauma fear and survival mode. So God unplugged your access, shut down your system, and began the total rewrite. And now, when you're finally rebooted, you won't walk into rooms that no longer deserve your gift. You think this silence has been about rest, but it's been about reconstruction. Deep, cellular, neurological reconstruction. God has been performing surgery on your brain patterns, your emotional reflexes, your spiritual instincts. He didn't let you move because he was rebuilding your spiritual GPS. In Romans 12:2, Paul says, "Be transformed by the renewing of your mind." But that word renewing, in the original Greek, it's anakainosis, which means complete renovation, not a fresh coat of paint. Total gut job. God is gutting your mental architecture and rebuilding it from the foundation up. Every night you've slept this deep, exhausted sleep, Heaven's tech team has been working, rewiring neural pathways, updating your emotional operating system, installing new spiritual software that will make you incompatible with your old, toxic patterns. You're not the same person who entered this shutdown. That version of you who accepted disrespect deleted. That version who second-guessed divine promptings uninstalled. That version who tolerated energy vampires permanently removed from your system. The new you won't even recognize those old patterns as options. You've been wondering why you can't force yourself to care about things that used to matter. Why conversations with certain people feel like trying to run obsolete software on new hardware. Because your spiritual operating system has been upgraded. Your tolerance for dysfunction has been systematically removed. But here's where this gets supernatural, chosen one. This rewiring isn't just happening in your mind. It's happening in your DNA. Scientific studies now prove that trauma, stress, and toxic relationships literally alter your genetic expression. But so does divine intervention. God is rewriting you at a molecular level. Every cell in your body is being reprogrammed with new instructions, new responses to old triggers, new boundaries where there used to be open doors, new peace where there used to be panic, new authority where there used to be anxiety. That's why you felt so strange in your own skin lately. Because it's not your old skin anymore. You're wearing new spiritual DNA. Your reflexes have been recalibrated. Your instincts have been sanctified. The person who used to say yes to everything that wasn't God's will that person is extinct. In 2 Corinthians 5:17, it says, "If anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come, the old has gone, the new is here." But most people think that's just spiritual poetry. It's spiritual technology. God has literally created new neural networks in your brain that bypass your old trauma responses. He's installed new emotional circuits that don't connect to your old pain patterns. He's uploaded new spiritual software that makes you immune to manipulation. You're not just healed, you're upgraded. That's why people from your past feel so foreign now. That's why situations that used to stress you out now feel manageable. That's why you can't get worked up about drama that used to consume you. Your entire stress response system has been re-engineered. You used to react. Now you respond. You used to absorb other people's chaos. Now you repel it. You used to question your worth. Now it's non-negotiable. God didn't just heal your wounds. He made you allergic to the things that wounded you. But here's the part that's going to blow your mind. This rewiring process has been happening in layers. First, God rewired your pain receptors so you could stop hurting. Then he rewired your pattern recognition so you could stop repeating. Then he rewired your purpose receptors so you could start receiving. And now he's installing the final layer of programming, divine discernment that operates faster than human thought. You're about to walk back into the world with spiritual technology that most people don't even know exists. Instant recognition of God's voice, immediate detection of spiritual counterfeits, automatic rejection of anything that's not aligned with heaven's frequency. You won't have to think about it. You won't have to pray about it. Your spirit will just know, because God has installed premium spiritual software in you that operates at the speed of light. When someone tries to manipulate you, your spirit will instantly reject the signal. When an opportunity isn't from him, your inner compass will immediately point away. This is why you had to be hidden during the upgrade. You couldn't be around people while God was installing new boundary software. You couldn't be making decisions while he was rewiring your discernment circuits. You couldn't be exposed to old influences while he was programming new resistances. Every day you've been isolated has been a day of installation, new confidence protocols, updated self-worth algorithms, enhanced purpose detection systems, upgraded love recognition software that only responds to authentic signals. And here's the most powerful part. The rewiring isn't just protective, it's prophetic. God has programmed you with supernatural sensitivity to his voice, his timing, his people, his plans. You're going to know things you have no natural way of knowing. You're going to sense things before they happen. You're going to feel God's approval or disapproval in real time. Your spiritual reflexes are now faster than your human logic. When God says move, you'll already be moving. When he says stop, you'll already be stopped. When he says speak, the words will already be on your tongue. Because you're not just renewed, you're rewired. In Jeremiah 31:33, God says, "I will put my law in their minds and write it on their hearts." But that's not poetry, that's programming. God has literally written his will into your mental circuits so that obeying him becomes as natural as breathing. You don't have to fight your flesh anymore. Your flesh has been reprogrammed to crave righteousness. Type, "God, delete the corrupted files in me." But because the old you, the one who struggled, who compromised, who settled, that version is being permanently deleted to make room for the upgraded you. And the upgraded you is about to change everything. But while you've been focused on what's being deleted and rewired, something else has been happening. Something so sacred, so classified that it can only occur while your conscious mind is completely offline. There's an invisible transfer happening as you sleep. What is God giving me that I'm not even awake to witness, chosen one? Listen carefully. You're being loaded with codes in your dreams. Not dreams you remember, but dreams your spirit caught. Dreams that bypass your memory and download directly into your spiritual hard drive. By the time you wake up, a new mantle will be resting on your name. Every night you've collapsed into that unexplainable exhaustion, thinking you were just tired. Heaven's delivery system has been operating. While your body lay still, your spirit has been traveling, receiving, collecting, being loaded with weapons too holy for daylight. You think you've been sleeping, but you've been in sacred school. In Daniel 2:19, it says, "During the night the mystery was revealed to Daniel in a vision." But notice Daniel didn't seek the vision. The vision sought him while he slept. While his natural mind was unconscious, his spirit was in class receiving classified intelligence. That's exactly what's been happening to you. Every time your head hits the pillow and you slip into that deep, dreamless void, your spirit has been slipping into the throne room. You wake up with no memory of the journey, but your soul carries the residue of eternity. You're being loaded with scrolls in your spirit while unconscious. Ancient scrolls, sealed scrolls, scrolls with your name written in languages older than time. Scrolls containing strategies for battles you haven't fought yet, blueprints for buildings you haven't built yet, codes for locks you haven't encountered yet. The weapons he's handing you are too holy for daylight. That's why this transfer can only happen in the darkness of divine sleep, because what you're receiving isn't meant for your human consciousness yet. It's being stored in your spirit's vault until the moment you need it. You've been wondering why you wake up feeling different even though you can't remember dreaming, because your spirit has been downloading while your mind was offline. You've been receiving inheritances in realms your brain can't process yet. This isn't rest, this is divine data transfer. In Job 33:14-16, it says, "God does speak. In a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falls on people. Then he opens the ears of men and seals their instruction, not gives it to their conscious mind, seals it in their spirit for future access." You're being programmed with future solutions while you sleep. Right now, stored in your spiritual database are answers to prayers you haven't prayed yet, strategies for problems you haven't faced yet, words for conversations you haven't had yet, strength for battles you haven't entered yet, and you have no conscious memory of receiving any of it. That's the beauty of God's delivery system. He loads you with ammunition while you're unconscious, so the enemy can't intercept the transfer. He downloads wisdom into your spirit while your mind is offline, so hell can't hack the transmission. You're receiving classified intelligence through dream state downloads. Every night you've felt that strange pull toward deep sleep that was heaven calling your spirit to class. Not the kind of class where you sit and listen, the kind where truth is injected directly into your spiritual DNA. You wake up feeling like something happened, but you can't put your finger on what. Because your spirit attended meetings your mind wasn't invited to. Your soul sat in briefings your brain couldn't handle. You've been receiving mantles while unconscious, authority you didn't earn, wisdom you didn't study for, power you didn't pray for. It's being deposited into your spiritual account while you sleep, accumulating interest, waiting for the moment when you'll need to make a withdrawal. In Genesis 28:12, Jacob had a dream of a stairway resting on the earth, with its top reaching to heaven, and the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. But when Jacob woke up, he said, "Surely the Lord is in this place, and I was not aware of it." That's been your reality every night. Heaven has been in your bedroom and you weren't consciously aware of it. Angels ascending and descending, carrying scrolls, delivering messages, transferring weapons from the armory of eternity into the vault of your spirit. You think you've been unconscious, but your spirit has been hyperconscious, conscious of frequencies your mind can't detect, conscious of conversations your ears can't hear. conscious of transactions your brain can't process. Your spirit has been wide awake in dimensions where sleep doesn't exist, and it's been collecting on your behalf. That's why you've felt so different lately, not just because of what's been deleted, but because of what's been deposited. You're carrying spiritual currency you didn't have before, weapons you haven't learned to use yet, authority you haven't discovered yet. You're pregnant with purpose you can't see yet. Every morning you wake up, you're waking up heavier, not physically, spiritually, weighted with invisible gifts, loaded with supernatural ammunition, pregnant with prophecies that will birth themselves when the time is right. You can feel it, can't you? That sense that you're carrying something precious, something powerful, something you can't name. That's not imagination. That's the weight of divine deposits, the heaviness of holy inheritance, the burden of blessed responsibility. You're not just tired, you're loaded with scrolls containing the names of people you're going to heal, loaded with codes that will unlock doors you haven't seen yet, loaded with words that will break chains you haven't encountered yet. The invisible transfer is almost complete. Soon, very soon, God is going to wake you up, not just from sleep, but from the entire season of unconscious receiving. And when He does, you're going to discover what's been deposited in you while you weren't looking. You're going to reach into your spirit and pull out weapons you don't remember receiving. You're going to speak words you never learned. You're going to know things you were never taught. You're going to carry authority you never earned, because it was all transferred to you while you slept. In Isaiah 54, it says, "He wakens me morning by morning, wakens my ear to listen like one being instructed." Morning by morning, every time you wake up more equipped than when you went to sleep. Say, "Lord, deliver the scrolls. I'll carry the secrets," because the transfer is in its final phase. The downloads are almost complete. And when you finally wake up from this season, you're going to discover you've become someone you don't recognize. But first, you need to understand what happens when the transfer is complete, when the downloads finish, when the scrolls are fully delivered, when you finally open your eyes. You won't remember who you were. And I don't mean you'll have amnesia. I mean something far more profound, something far more terrifying, and far more beautiful. What if God erased my past not to punish me, but to unlock me? When you wake up from this divine shutdown, chosen one, you're going to experience something that will shake you to your core. You're going to look in the mirror and not recognize the fire behind your eyes. Every version of you that tried to survive has been buried. The you who flinched at confrontation gone. The you who apologized for taking up space erased. The you who second-guessed every divine whisper deleted from existence. You are emerging as the architect, not the patient. For years, maybe decades, you've been responding to life, reacting to circumstances, surviving whatever was thrown at you. But that person died in this divine shutdown. You are no longer responding to pain, you are commanding purpose. In 2 Corinthians 5:17, Paul writes, "Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come. The old has gone, the new is here." But most people read that as spiritual poetry. It's spiritual surgery. The old isn't just covered up, it's completely removed. You're about to wake up into a name you've never spoken, not the name on your birth certificate, the name written in eternity before time began. The name hell tried to bury under trauma, disappointment, and survival mode. The name that makes demons tremble. You've been living under your trauma name, your rejection name, your not good enough name. But that name, it has no power where you're going. When you wake up, you'll feel like a stranger in your own life. Your old triggers won't work anymore. Your old fears won't recognize you. Your old patterns will look for the person you used to be and find nothing but empty space where they used to live. This is spiritual amnesia that births divine remembrance. You're forgetting who the world said you were so you can remember who God says you are. You're losing your false identity so you can find your true name. That's why you felt so disconnected from your old self lately. Why your old personality feels foreign. Why conversations you used to enjoy feel like you're speaking a language you no longer understand. Because you're not the same person who entered this shutdown. The person who worried about other people's opinions. That person is extinct. The person who tolerated disrespect to keep the peace. That person has been permanently deleted. You're waking up with software that doesn't recognize dysfunction. When someone tries to manipulate you now, your spirit will look at them like they're speaking a foreign language. When toxic people try to hook you with old patterns, you'll stare at them like they're trying to plug outdated cables into new technology. It won't compute because you're no longer compatible with your old life. In Isaiah 43:18-19, God says, "Forget the former things, do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing." But that word forget, it's not passive, it's active deletion. God is actively making you unable to remember your limitations. You're developing holy amnesia about your old identity, the memories of who you used to be. They're fading. Not the facts, but the feeling. Not the events, but the emotional charge. You'll remember what happened, but you won't remember feeling powerless about it. That's how you know the transformation is complete. When your old wounds feel like they happened to someone else. When your old fears feel foreign. When your old insecurities feel like a movie you watched once but can't quite remember. You're not losing your mind. You're losing your old identity. And here's what's going to shock you. When you try to be the person you used to be, your spirit will revolt. Your new operating system will reject any attempt to downgrade back to your old patterns. You'll physically feel sick when you try to shrink back into who you were. Your body will reject people-pleasing like it's poison. Your spirit will recoil from toxic relationships like they're radioactive. Your soul will refuse to accept treatment that doesn't match your new spiritual DNA, because you're not just healed. You're allergic to your old wounds. This is what happens when God doesn't just fix you, when He remakes you, when He doesn't just heal your trauma, when He makes you immune to it. You're going to walk into rooms and wonder why you ever felt intimidated. You're going to hear gossip and wonder why you ever participated. You're going to see drama and wonder why you ever got sucked in. Because the person who was vulnerable to those things no longer exists. In Ephesians 4:22-24, Paul talks about putting off your old self and putting on the new self created to be like God. Created to be like God, not improved, not upgraded. Created brand new. You're not a better version of your old self. You're a completely different person. The old you had to fight for confidence. The new you is confidence. The old you had to work for peace. The new you is peace. The old you had to strive for worth. The new you is worth. You're not becoming someone new. You're remembering who you've always been. Before the world told you who you were, before trauma defined you, before fear named you, before rejection labeled you, you're remembering your original identity, the one God whispered over you before you were born, the one heaven celebrated when you were conceived, the one hell has been trying to make you forget your entire life. That identity is rising to the surface, and when it fully emerges, when you fully wake up into who you really are, people from your past are going to look at you like you're a stranger, because you are. You're a stranger to dysfunction, a stranger to drama, a stranger to settling for less than God's best, a stranger to everything that used to define you. Your old friends won't recognize you. They'll try to pull you back into old conversations, old patterns, old limitations. But you'll look at them with blank eyes, not because you don't love them, because you no longer speak that language. You've been reprogrammed with divine dialect. You speak purpose now, not problems. You speak possibility now, not limitations. You speak faith now, not fear. You speak destiny now, not drama. And when people hear you speak, they'll know something has fundamentally changed. Not just in what you say, in who you are, in the authority you carry, in the power you possess, in the peace you project. You'll speak and things will shift. You'll pray and things will break. You'll walk into rooms and atmospheres will change. You'll open your mouth and heaven will back up your words, because you're no longer speaking as a survivor. You're speaking as a son, as a daughter, as royalty. Declare, I'm waking up into a name I've never spoken. Because the wake-up call is coming, the alarm is about to sound. And when it does, when you finally open your eyes and step back into the world, you're going to discover something that will change everything. The world needs the person you're becoming. Right now, as you're experiencing this spiritual shutdown, you need practical tools to navigate what's happening. Don't fight the exhaustion, lean into it. When your body demands 12 hours of sleep, give it 12 hours. When your mind goes blank during conversations, don't panic. This isn't dysfunction. This is divine construction. Create sacred space for this process. Clear your calendar of non-essential commitments. Tell people you're in a season of rest without feeling guilty about it. Your old self would have apologized for needing space. Your emerging self knows that rest is not selfish, it's strategic. Set boundaries around your energy like you're protecting a newborn baby, because spiritually, that's exactly what you're doing. Pay attention to what repels you now. If certain TV shows suddenly feel toxic, stop watching them. If social media drains you, step away. If conversations with specific people leave you feeling heavy, limit those interactions. Your spirit is developing new allergies to things that don't serve your destiny. Don't override these new instincts with old politeness patterns. Document the changes you're experiencing. Write down moments when you notice your old reactions aren't working anymore. Note when you feel disconnected from your previous interests. This isn't loss, it's evidence of transformation. Keep a record of dreams, even fragments. Your spirit is receiving downloads that your conscious mind might not remember, but your journal can capture the residue. Stop forcing decisions during this season. If you're feeling unclear about major choices, that's intentional. God has temporarily disabled your decision-making to prevent you from choosing based on old programming. Wait for the clarity that comes after the rewiring is complete. The right doors will be obvious when your spiritual GPS comes back online. Practice saying no without explanation. Your new operating system doesn't owe anyone justification for protecting your peace. Start with small boundaries, declining invitations that don't feel right, ending conversations that drain you, choosing rest over productivity. Each no to the wrong thing is a yes to your transformation. Prepare for relationship shifts. Some people won't understand the person you're becoming. That's not your problem to fix. Your job is to honor the process, not manage other people's reactions to it. The relationships that are meant to survive this upgrade will adapt. The ones that can't were never meant for your destiny anyway. Trust the timing of your reemergence. You'll know when the shutdown phase is complete, because you'll wake up one morning feeling fundamentally different. Your energy will return, but it will be higher quality energy. Your clarity will come back, but it will be supernatural clarity. Your voice will reemerge, but it will carry new authority. Most importantly, don't rush the process. This divine shutdown is preparing you for a level of purpose that requires this depth of transformation. The longer the preparation, the greater the elevation. When you finally step back into full activity, you'll be operating from a completely different spiritual frequency, one that attracts the right opportunities and repels the wrong ones automatically. Chosen one, we've walked through sacred territory together today, through the divine shutdown that felt like abandonment, but was actually protection, through the strange sleep that felt like weakness, but was actually rewiring, through the blindfolding that felt like punishment, but was actually preservation. Remember this above all else. What you're experiencing isn't random. It's not a coincidence that you found this message today. God orchestrated your divine shutdown to prepare you for divine breakthrough. The exhaustion you feel isn't failure, it's the weight of glory being downloaded into your spirit. The confusion you're experiencing isn't mental fog, it's divine repositioning. You are being extracted, protected, rewired, and loaded with weapons for the battle ahead. Every door that closed was a door to disaster. Every plan that fell apart was a plan that would have derailed your destiny. Every moment of isolation has been a moment of divine installation. But here's what I need you to know with absolute certainty. You are not walking through this alone. Even in your deepest moments of shutdown, when the silence feels deafening and the waiting feels endless, heaven is working overtime on your behalf. God hasn't forgotten your name. He hasn't abandoned your dreams. He's been protecting them while He prepares you to carry them. And you're not the only one experiencing this divine disruption. All around the world, chosen vessels are being simultaneously shut down, rewired, and prepared for what's coming. There's an army of people who understand exactly what you're feeling right now. People who've felt the same strange exhaustion, the same unexplainable disconnection, the same supernatural pull towards silence and solitude. This community right here, we're walking through this transformation together. In the comments below, I want you to connect with others who are experiencing their own divine shutdown. Share what resonated with you today. Tell us what you're sensing God doing in your silence, because your testimony might be exactly what someone else needs to hear, to understand they're not losing their mind, they're being remade by the Master's hands. Before we close, I need to ask you something that will determine everything about how you move forward. Will you trust the process even when you can't see the progress? Will you surrender to the divine shutdown even when every human instinct tells you to fight it? Will you believe that God's delays are actually His perfect timing in disguise? If your answer is yes, then this prayer is for you. Let me pray over you right now as if I'm standing right beside you, my hand on your shoulder, speaking directly into your spirit. Heavenly Father, I lift up every person who has walked through this message today. Lord, you see them in their divine shutdown. You see them in their sacred exhaustion. You see them questioning, wondering, hoping, and surrendering all at the same time. Father, I pray that you would flood their spirit with supernatural peace right now. Let them feel your presence in this very moment. Remind them that what feels like abandonment is actually divine appointment. What feels like delay is actually your perfect timing unfolding. God bless the sleep they're about to enter tonight. Let it be filled with downloads from heaven. Let their spirit receive every scroll, every code, every weapon you're transferring to them while they rest. Protect their dreams and let their souls catch what their minds cannot yet comprehend. Lord, when they wake up tomorrow, let them wake up with fresh understanding of who they're becoming. Give them strength to resist the urge to rush back into old patterns. Help them honor the rewiring process you're doing in their hearts, minds, and spirits. Father, surround them with people who understand this season. Connect them with others who are walking through their own divine shutdown. Let them find community in this sacred space and never feel alone in their transformation. And Lord, when the time comes, when the shutdown is complete, when the rewiring is finished, when the downloads are installed, release them into their destiny with power, purpose, and supernatural authority. Let the world see the difference you've made in their lives. We thank you that you're not done with any of us. We thank you that our best days aren't behind us. They're being prepared for us right now in the silence of our surrender. In Jesus' mighty name, amen. Family, thank you for staying with me through this entire journey today. The fact that you watched until the end tells me that your spirit is hungry for truth and ready for transformation. That's not an accident. That's divine appointment. I want to hear from you in the comments. Tell me what part of this message hit your spirit the deepest. What confirmation did you receive about your own divine shutdown? Share your testimony so others can be encouraged. Your breakthrough story might be exactly what someone else needs to hold on for one more day. And if this message helped you understand what God is doing in your life, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. There are people in your life right now who are experiencing their own divine shutdown and wondering if they're losing their minds. Help them understand they're not falling apart. They're being put back together by the Master Builder himself. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a message that God wants to speak directly to your spirit, because this is just the beginning of what He wants to reveal to you about the season you're walking through. Until next time, rest well, trust the process, and remember your divine shutdown is preparing you for your divine setup. You are loved, you are chosen, and your breakthrough is closer than you think. Be blessed.